There are a few things that I never knew about Malcolm X. I just watched the 3-hour-long Malcolm X movie by Spike Lee starring Denzel Washington.
I was calling you Denzel. Is that correct?
Actually, it's Denzel.
First off, why the X? Why did he go from Malcolm Little to Malcolm X? When Africans were taken from their country forcibly, a lot of their cultural heritage and cultural identity was erased. Many of the last names of African American people in this country are actually the names inherited from the people that enslaved them. So he changed his name to X to represent this unknown part of his history and many Black Americans' history. Second, he's not nearly as one-dimensional as was taught to me in my history classes. If your school was anything like mine, you spent a lot of time on Dr. King, and Malcolm X was a sort of footnote as the example of the guy who was just the more violent version of him. This is harmfully untrue for a couple of reasons. First off, he did not have one coherent understanding of violence that he kept clear throughout his entire political career. Malcolm X's views changed over time. He was a human person and his views developed. This is something that the Spike Lee movie depicts really well. For instance, one of the things that will show up if you Google him right now is this idea he had that we needed strict separation of the races and that the only way forward was not integration but breaking apart races either by going back to countries of origin or by having completely separated society. For reasons we don't have time to get into here, he did break with the Nation of Islam, the original group that he was with. After breaking with this group, he took the Hajj, the religious pilgrimage to Mecca that many Muslims take, where Dr. King has the letter from Birmingham jail. Malcolm X has the letter from the Hajj. Is the letter from Birmingham jail really comparable to the letter from the Hajj? No, but because I put them together, they're going to be associated in your brain, and you're going to be more likely to remember them. Teacher points. But when he returned, he didn't turn into a carbon copy of the whitewashed version of Dr. King that every politician seems to believe they can tweet about on MLK Day. He did very much maintain the belief that it is legally allowed and permissible to arm yourself if the government is failing to protect you. And I wish I were joking about this, but when I went to pull the clip where he is asked the question about arming themselves and he responds that it's okay to do that, I got a targeted advertisement from a guy advertising concealed carry devices. And if you zoom in on that dude's tattoos, he's got a Jesus fish on the left hand, whatever that symbol is, and a cross on the right. For some reason, violent Christianity is morally permissible and defended by God under the Second Amendment. But if you want to defend yourself with arms as a black person in America, that's not okay. And I've got this like TikToker persona where I'm trying to be entertaining as well as educating, but Philando Castile tried to disclose to a police officer that he had a firearm and he was killed anyway. Tamir Rice had a toy gun. Michael Brown had no gun. Eric Garner had loose cigarettes, and George Floyd was handcuffed on the ground. Part of the fetishization of the Second Amendment is the idea that maybe perhaps one day the government might not have your best interest at heart. But the Second Amendment fairy tale that one day the government might come for you is, in fact, the everyday reality for Black people in America.